So we have done first two methods. So you guys can go through the recordings. You'll get the recordings once you guys get enrolled. And today this is the third method to solve quadratic equation. So I will begin with an example. So let's say this is a quadratic equation. X squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. This is a quadratic equation because highest power of the variable here is 2. Now the topic says solving quadratic equation. What do we mean by solving an equation actually? When we say that we want to solve an equation, what do we mean by that?
To find x.
To find x, exactly. I want to find out those values of x which if put in this equation, then this equation will become true. I know the answer for this. So there is one more concept that a quadratic equation will have two solutions. Okay, it will always have two solutions. So I know the answer already. It's 2 and 3. Let me first tell you the meaning of the solution. 2 and 3, they both are the solutions. So what do we mean by solution? If I put 2 in this equation, so 2 square minus 5 times 2 plus 6, this should give me 0. So 2 square is 4, minus 5 times 2 is 10, plus 6. 4 minus 10 will be negative 6 plus 6 is 0. Same thing should happen with 3. So 3 square minus 5 times 3 plus 6. 3 square is 9 minus 15 plus 6. 9 minus 15 is negative 6 plus 6 equals 0. So this is what we mean by solution. We want to find out these values, 2 and 3. But how do we actually find these numbers? How do we find the solution? One more thing, I will be using these words interchangeably. Solution of an equation or root of an equation or zero of an equation. You will see these three words very often, and these three words mean the same thing. Okay, so even sometimes I will say solution, sometimes I'll say root, sometimes I'll say zeros. Okay, now let's get back to this equation. So the third method, it is very useful actually. The third method that we'll be using, it's called splitting the middle term or factoring or AC method. So it goes like this. First, I will write the general form of quadratic equation. So the general form of any quadratic equation is given by this: ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a, b and c can be any integers. Okay. First, you will compare it with this and you will find out the values of a, b and c. Okay. So Pranav, can you tell me the value of a? Just compare it with this one. A is the coefficient of x squared term.
A is 1.
A is 1. Okay. Now Gia, can you tell the value of b?
Negative 5.
Okay. Now Mahi, what is the value of c?
6.
6. Okay. This is your first step. You will find the values of a, b and c. Step number 2, you will find the product of a and c. Product of a and c. That means a times c. So a is 1 and c is 6. So 1 times 6 will give us 6. This is one of the reasons that this method is called AC method, because we are finding product of A and C. Next step number 3. This is very important. This is the most important step now. You have to find out factors of 6, factors of 6, all possible factor pairs of 6. Can you guys tell me? So let me do this actually. What do I mean by this? Now you know 2 times 3 is 6. That is one possible factor pair. 2 and 3. Then 1 and 6, because 1 times 6 will give us 6. Then we can also have negative 2 and negative 3. If you multiply negative 2 and negative 3, then also you'll get a 6. Then you can also have negative 1 and negative 6. These are all the possible factor pairs. I should write factor pairs. Okay. Now next step is we will pick up that factor pair which will add up to negative 5. Negative 5, which will add up and give us value of b. Okay, so what do I mean by that? If you look at this pair, negative 2 and negative 3, and if you add them, negative 2 plus negative 3, you will get negative 5. So you have to pick up that factor pair which will give you the b coefficient, the coefficient of x, once you add them. This step is clear to everyone. This is the most important step. Okay.
Yes.
This is why this method is also called factoring. Now the next step is we will split the middle term. See, in any quadratic equation, this will be your middle term. What we'll do now, we will actually split this term. Now see this very carefully. I will write this equation now like this: x square negative 5x, I will split it. I will write it like this: negative 2x minus 3x plus 6 equals 0. What did I do? I splitted negative 5x like this: negative 2x minus 3x. Okay, this is why this method is also called splitting the middle term, because we are splitting the middle term, as literal as you can get. Okay, now the next step. Can you guys apply distributive property here and let me know? Can you guys apply the distributive property and let me know what will be the expression in the next step? So for instance, if I take x as common factor, see, in this term you have x square and in this term you have x. If I take x as common factor and I divide both the terms by x, so x square divided by x will give me x, minus 2x divided by x will give me 2. This is called actually reverse of distributive property. Okay, have you guys heard of distributive property? Pranav, have you heard of distributive property?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in distributive property, what happens? Let me write it here. You have, wait. Okay, if you have distributive property, let's say you had x multiplied by x minus 2, then you would multiply x by x, so you will get x square. And then in the next step, you would multiply x by negative 2, then you would get negative 2x. So what we are doing now is we are doing reverse of distributive property. So to do the reverse of distributive property, we look for any common factor in both the terms. So in both these two terms, x was common factor. So we'll write x like this and we divide both the terms by x. So x square divided by x will give us x, and 2x divided by x will give us, negative 2x divided by x will give us negative 2. Is this step clear to everyone? If you have any doubt, please ask me. This is very important. How did I get this x times x minus 2? Okay, I'm assuming this is clear. Now we'll do the same thing for these two. We have negative 3x plus 6. Now the common factor is here negative 3. Now we'll apply reverse of distributive property. So everyone, what is 3x divided by, negative 3x divided by negative 3? Jia, can you tell negative 3x divided by negative 3?
Equals x.
X. So here I will write x. Then what is 6 divided by negative 3? Mahi, can you tell 6 divided by negative 3?
6 divided by negative 3 would be 2.
2, positive 2.
Yeah.
6 divided by negative 3.
Oh, sorry, negative 2.
Negative. I'll write negative 2 here. Okay. Now again you have two terms with you. This is first term and this is second term. Now again in these two terms we have one common factor, which is x minus 2. So I will write x minus 2 like this. Now if I divide this whole term by x minus 2, I will get only x. So I write x like this. And if I divide this entire term by x minus 2, I will get negative 3. So again I applied reverse of distributive property. And now your work is done. Now I have a question. If product of two numbers is 0, then what can you say about those two numbers? What can you tell about those two numbers? Can we say something about those two numbers? Pranav, if product of two numbers is 0, then is there any conclusion that you can make for those two numbers?
Either x minus 2 has to be 0, x minus 3 has to be 0, or both of them have to be 0.
Perfect. So either x minus 2 has to be 0 or x minus 3 has to be 0. So we'll say that either x minus 2 has to be 0 or x minus 3 has to be 0, because that's the only way we can get product equal to 0. Now if x minus 2 is 0, then value of x has to be 2, and if x minus 3 is equal to 0, then value of x has to be 3. So this is it. You have your solution of this quadratic equation 2 and 3. And if you remember, when I was solving this, I told you we checked it, right? Okay, so this is our factoring method or splitting the middle term method or AC method. Now, any questions, any doubts in any of the steps? This is very important. I cannot put more emphasis on this, how important this topic is going to be in your algebra.
Well, I had to learn this in class last year, and
Gia, you've learned this before?
yeah,
Okay.
and what we ended up doing is just a simple hack that if b is negative, then both terms have to be negative. If b is positive, then both terms are positive. Well, it depends on the coefficient of c too.
Yeah,
But
so it will depend on both B and C.
yes,
Okay, so again, there are multiple things that you can do. So you know why the reason why this method works? Let me tell you something very interesting. I'm sure you must, this thing you could have never heard of. So our quadratic equation, if you see quadratic equation in this form, x square minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. This number that you see, this is always the product of the roots. Product of the roots or solution. So you see the roots are 2 and 3. If you multiply 2 and 3, you will get 6. And this number is sum. Actually, this is negative x square minus s. So you have to ignore the minus sign, and then whatever you get, that is sum of the roots. So if you add 2 and 3, you will get 5. That is why this method works. So there is one more general form. There is one more general form for a quadratic equation. It is given by this: x square minus sx plus p. Here your s is sum of the roots and p is product of the roots. This is another general form of a quadratic equation. This is one form and this is another form. And this is the reason why this method works. First, we find out what is the product of A and C. Then we find out factor pairs and we pick up that factor pair which will add up and give us the B coefficient. And then we will split up the middle term. Okay, so Jia has done this last year. Pranav and Mahi, are you guys clear with this method?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know this is a lot, but once you practice, you will be good with it. Now, there is one more extension to this concept. Let me begin with that. Now, instead of quadratic equation, I will pick up a quartic equation. Do you know what is a quartic equation?
An equation with a degree of 4.
Perfect. So what if you have an equation like this: x raised to 4 minus 10x squared plus 9 equals 0. This is a quartic equation now. And if you have to solve it, you have to find its solutions. Yeah, do you know, have you done this in school?
I have. We've done like all sorts of this.
Okay, so how do we do it?
So you kind of just do, well, for me, we kind of just do the same thing, except we keep in mind of the degrees and we just change the degree. So it's like x squared minus x or something.
Okay, so this, if you guys notice something, there is a pattern. This is exactly on the quadratic equations pattern. It's just that instead of x squared, now we have x raised to 4, and instead of x, we have x squared. So what we have to do in this case, we will do a substitution. We will substitute, this will be the first step. Let's substitute x squared by any new variable. Let's say I want to substitute it by u. So in place of x square, I will write u. One question: if x square is u, then what will be x raised to 4? Mahi, can you tell?
Sorry, can you repeat the question again? You were kind of lagging for me.
Okay, yes. If x square is u, then what will be the value of x raised to 4?
Would it be this u?
U. So x square is u, and now
U squared?
u square, exactly. So basically what we did, we squared x squared. We took square on both the sides. So square of x square becomes x raised to 4 and square of u becomes u square. So the reason I asked you this because we have here x raised to 4 and we are substituting x square by u. So x raised to 4 will become u square, then minus 10, and in place of x square we are writing u plus 9 equals 0. Right? Now this is now actually your quadratic equation. You have transformed your original equation into a quadratic equation. Now you can apply the same method, the AC method. So there is a shortcut as well. That shortcut works like this. Can you guys tell me some factor pairs of 9? First you have to multiply 9 and this. We write it ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So value of a is 1, value of b is negative 10 and c is 9. So product of a and c is 9. Okay. Pranav, can you tell me a factor pair for 9?
3 and 3.
3 and 3. Okay. 3 and 3. Gia, can you tell me one more pair?
Well, in this situation, -9 and -1.
Negative 9 and negative 1. We should pick up negative 9 and negative 1 so that when you add them, then you'll get negative 10. That's what we want. Okay, and there are another pairs as well. There is 1 and 9. There is negative 3 and negative 3. But in this situation, this one will work. Okay, negative 1 and negative 9. Now we will split the middle term. So we get u squared minus 9u minus u. So instead of negative 10u, I am writing negative 9u minus u plus 9 equals 0. Okay. Now it's very simple. You just have to apply the reverse of distributive property. Here u is a common factor. So divide both the terms by u and we get u minus 9. Okay, this is interesting. What is the common factor for these two terms now? Negative u and positive 9. Mai, what do you think? What is the common factor for negative u and positive 9? Or anyone can tell if you guys know.
Negative
Pranav?
1.
Perfect. Negative 1 is common. When you see no possible factor as common, then 1 will always be a common factor somewhere. I'm going to write negative 1. Now you have to divide both these terms by negative 1. So negative u divided by negative 1 will give us a u. And then 9 divided by negative 1 will give us a negative 9. Now you can again find out the common factor for these two terms. The common factor is u minus 9. And when you divide this term by u minus 9, you will get u. And when you divide this term by u minus 9, you will get negative 1. So your solutions will be 9 and 1. So remember I was talking about a shortcut. So that shortcut you can easily get from this step. So the factor pairs were negative 9 and negative 1. Just reverse their sign and you will get your solution. But here 9 and 1 are not the solution. 9 and 1 will be solution for this equation. And we want to find out the solution for this equation. So value of u is 9 and 1. we have solved this equation. Okay, so we have solved for the variable u, but we want to find out the values for x. Okay, so what was u? U was x squared. U was equal to x squared. And for u, I am getting 9. So 9 equals x squared. And also I am getting 1. So 1 equals x squared. Okay, now you guys can solve for x. Which number's square will give you 9? Pranav, can you tell?
3.
3 and negative 3 as well. Because negative 3 square will also give you 9, right? 3 square is 9 and negative 3 square is also 9. And for this one, you will get 1 and negative 1. So you have 4 solutions for this equation. Because this is a quadratic equation, whatever is the degree, you will get those many solutions. So what are the 4 solutions? 3, negative 3, 1 and negative 1. These are the 4 solutions for this equation. Okay. Do you guys have any doubts in this one? I
So
think
for the quadratic equation, it's 4 solutions, and then for quadratic equations, it's 2 solutions.
yes. Whatever is the degree, this is actually our next topic. Not next, but we'll do this in Algebra 2. It's called Fundamental Theorem of Algebra. Fundamental Theorem of Algebra tells us that whatever is the degree of the equation, that equation will have that many number of roots. If it is a 4-degree equation, we'll get 4 roots. If it is a 2-degree equation, we'll get 2 roots. If it is a 8-degree equation, you'll get 8 roots or solutions. That is stated in the fundamental theorem of algebra. We'll do this in algebra 2.